Switzerland, home of psychologist Dr. Bertolt Meyer. Two years ago, technology transformed Bertolt's life. He was fitted with the most advanced bionic hand on the market. Bertolt's arm is the product of an extraordinary technological revolution in bionics.
They're not just bits of technology, these are potential parts of the human body.
Now, Bertolt's going on a guided tour of our future to find out if man-made bodies will one day be better than our own.
Today, I've seen a hybrid between a chip and a living brain. Absolutely futuristic.
He'll create the world's first bionic man that can get off the slab and walk among us.
Seeing all the parts laid out on the slabs is actually quite spooky. It's all the right bits to be a human. It just needs to be brought to life.
Some of the UK's leading scientists will help to build a clone of his whole body. From his fingertips to his beating heart.
So we got all the organ in now, and so we're ready to put the blood in and circulate it.
When Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, she warned what might go wrong when we try to recreate life. Will Bertolt's team succeed where Frankenstein failed?
How do you feel, Bertolt?
Or will this technology unleash a monster? Dr. Frankenstein was a young Swiss scientist who dreamt of creating a beautiful creature from a collection of body parts.
I've looked around for new bionic technologies out of a personal interest for a very long time, and I feel like until 5 or 6 years ago, nothing much was happening, and then suddenly now we get this explosion of innovation.
Bertolt's hand may be worth £30,000, but he still needs to visit his clinic for occasional fine-tuning.
Macht sie manchmal nicht, was sie soll. Oder was halt auch natürlich schön ist, ist irgendwie dieser hier, ja, dass du irgendwie am Bahnhof stehst und dann passiert halt irgendwie das, so. Und dann denkt man so, jetzt, und die Leute gucken, ja. I got my new hand at this clinic about 2 years ago, which was a big deal for me because this new hand offers me a lot of more extra functionality that the old one didn't.
Bertolt was born without a left hand.
When I was growing up, I hated wearing artificial hands. The plastic hands always looked fake. They had this flesh-colored plastic. It just looked awkward. I didn't like it at all. And the metal hooks were useful in some circumstances, but they just looked scary and frightened people. Now that I have this one, I feel that the hand is a part of me because it is connected so well, it moves so effortlessly, and is so easy to control. And this has given me a much stronger sense of confidence. So now, if I don't wear it, I feel that there's something missing.
Bertolt's going to find out just how far this new technology can go. First, he's going to meet the roboticists who are building the mainframe of his bionic doppelganger.
That box has the hand that goes with my elbow.
Ah, okay, let's have a look at the hand. Nice.
Frankenstein was written in Switzerland 200 years ago as a horror story. Today, we're kind of rewriting that story in a very different way.
How do you do?
Very good, sir.
I think we are now at a point where we can build a body that is great and gorgeous and beautiful in its own special way.
This is a really exciting challenge. We're really looking forward to putting together a body out of body parts.
Wow.
We haven't got the measurements quite right, obviously. We'll have to work on that.
Oh, this seems to be very much my hand.
Yeah.
Have you seen it working?
Well, I'm seeing it working now.
Now, I can't control the fingers individually, but inside the fingers there is a pressure sensor that will try to detect the shape of the object that I'm holding,
Yeah.
and it will adapt the grasp. So, for example, when I hold my mobile phone like this, so what you see here is that this finger is the first one to realize that it touches an object and will stop moving, whereas this one goes all the way until it touches the object here. And that gives this very natural shape evenly around the object. It's a really firm grip, and that's really the beauty of it. I don't have to think much when I hold something, because the hand does some of the thinking, if you wish. Yeah, exactly. It conforms, conforms to my preference.
That's rather neat. Yeah.
Do kids ask you if you're a cyborg?
Of course, yeah, cyborg and robot, especially the younger kids. If you tell them, that's my robot hand, they go, oh, cool, robot hand. I go, Mummy, can I have one as well?
The Bionic Man will be built from prosthetic parts worth almost $1 million, the products of billions of dollars worth of research. When finished, he will reveal how close technology is to catching up with the human body. And he won't just have a mechanical outer frame, he'll have his own blood-pumping circulatory system. Building a set of life-sustaining innards will take a special kind of science.
We make virtually every organ in the body, and they could be planted in the body without rejection.
Professor Alex Afalian and his team have invented a groundbreaking polymer for building implantable organs of any shape.
And this is my baby.
He's even used it to create the world's first fully functioning veins and arteries.
So we made this similar elasticity as human artery, and also inside it, blood doesn't stick to it.
The professor's blood vessels will be the plumbing that connects the Bionic Man's inner organs.
We've got a heart.
We're talking about a mechanical heart, right? Something like a pump.
A mechanical heart.
Right.
A pancreas, a spleen, a kidney, and a lung. And connect those up and get blood flow around them and see what they do, how they work, what we can tell about them.
Will we be able to see the blood flow?
I hope so. I'm quite looking forward to that bit. I think one of the things about these parts is they are just, at the moment, a collection of mechanical parts. It would be very easy to have something where each bit did something, but there was no coherence to it. 45 across there. So how far can we get with the whole object to make it not just a collection of bits that happens to operate, but to make it an artificial person, effectively? 40.
I'm a bit afraid that we will create something that will look very, very scary in the end. From a user perspective, if it looks awkward and would scare away the kids instead of, going, oh, Mum, look, cool, I wouldn't be wearing this. So I just hope that it won't look
quite as disturbing as the picture does.
I will always feel a little nervous about it, because one of my hands is the exact same model that's lying there on the table. And I do have a very emotional connection to this hand. So of course I'm a little nervous what will happen to this artificial version of, well, me.
Technology's moving so fast, Bertolt's hand could soon be out of date.
When I drive, I need an addition to the steering wheel. There's a spinning knob here. It's very useful for spinning the steering wheel quickly, more quickly than I can with the prosthesis. I hate this thing. It's really ugly. This looks like something that's made for disabled people. I hate that.
A more advanced arm is just around the corner. In recent years, the US military has poured more than $100 million into bionic limb research.
Well, the main difference between the military and the private sector is the military, at least in my country, the United States, has an infinite amount of money. They do not have financial constraints. I mean, this whole robotics movement is coming from the military.
At a lab in Baltimore, Bertolt's going to be only the third person to try out the latest military prototype.
I fear I might see something that I really want, but that I will be unable to get. So a little bit, I actually hope that it won't be as good as I fear it is.
Right in through here.
In here?
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Wow.
So these are the MPLs.
Oh, wow. That is pretty amazing.
These are
Wow.
arms that we've designed over about the past 5 or 6 years.
Well, first of all, they look beautiful. Hello. So who's controlling this? Oh. Ah.
The arm's designed to be like a human arm in every aspect.
So does that mean that it can do all the movements that a human arm can do?
Just about. The human arm has 27 degrees of movement. This arm has a total of 26. So we've replicated virtually all the levels of movement that the human hand has.
So let's compare here. The only thing that I can do with my wrist is rotate it, whereas this can actually move the wrist. And that really is a big difference because, you know, oh God, this is so good. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Do a couple movements for me. So do like a hand open.
So open is...
Prosthetics are controlled by tiny electrical pulses given out by muscles in the upper arm.
And just here.
Yeah, just there.
While Bertolt's limb uses 2 electrodes to detect these pulses, this arm uses up to 16, opening up a range of movements usually out of Bertolt's reach.
Now, which one do you want to start with? Do you want to start with the rotation or do you want to start with the flex extend?
Oh, I'd like the flex extend because that I never had.
Okay. Now, we're actually going to train the system, and we're going to start with your hand close signal.
So I just press the button as long as I give the closing signal. That's correct, right?
Yep.
So that would close, and this is open. Close.
Bertolt spent months learning how to control his hand.
This is nice.
But this new limb can recognize the electrical pulses in his arm after just a few minutes.
We don't make you learn how to use the hand. The hand learns what you're trying to do.
Okay. Now it should have learned your signals.
Okay. Wow. This is amazing. I'm a little speechless. This is just awesome. Oh, sorry.
I was waiting for it.
Before today, I've never moved my left wrist. It's a sense that you're getting an extra bit of freedom that everybody else takes for granted. And then you walk out there and then it's gone again. So that sucks, I think. Wow, did you see that? Did you see what I just did? For me, the real game changer here is the control strategy that they're employing. This approach is so amazing that you just basically plaster the residual limbs with electrodes and just let the user imagine what it's like to move the limb, and then whatever is there is being picked up and used that. And I've heard of that in theory, but trying it out yourself is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely breathtaking. I only really have 2 muscles and this very tiny bit of lower arm that I still have. And it didn't matter. I could flex the wrist and I could grasp things. I had a left wrist there for a moment.
For full control of this new arm, amputees like Bertolt need to be able to flex more than 2 muscles in their residual limbs. But that requires an operation. Pioneering surgeon Albert Chi can give amputees these extra muscle movements by rewiring the nerves in the upper arm.
Here is the median nerve.
Oh, wow.
Which has information of the hand.
It's like a wire running.
Absolutely. It's almost like electrical wiring.
Yeah.
Dr. Chi can take 3 nerves that would normally go to the hand and plug them into muscles further up the arm.
Within the operation, I would take that nerve ending and literally plug the cut nerve into that muscle.
And then they grow together.
Absolutely.
So when the amputee thinks about moving their hand, signals are sent to 3 new sites in the upper arm and picked up by the bionic limb.
Having those 3 extra inputs, we can actually now not only have elbow flexion and extension, but we can have wrist rotation as well as hand open close.
Simultaneously?
Simultaneously.
Okay, that is the amazing step forward from my perspective, because you know I can move my hand and I can rotate the wrist, but it's either or. It's not at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd really like that. I think this was absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like this before. It was beautiful. It was so delicate. The possibilities that open up through this technique, I can just begin to think about.
Dr. Chi thinks the operation could go even further, rewiring the arm's sensory nerves so that amputees can feel what their bionic hand is touching.
So if you now reroute a nerve into that, does that mean that the prosthesis picks up touch and sends it to the nerve so that it goes back to the brain?
That's the plan. That is the plan. So with the modular prosthetic limb, it is capable of not only touch, temperature, but also positional sense.
So feeling.
Correct. I think we're within striking distance of having a fully functional replacement robotic arm.
Will that be developed within your and my lifetime?
I absolutely think so.
Okay, well, I certainly hope to get to see it. And I hope to be able to afford it.
One of the first on the waiting list for this experimental technique is Dana Burke. She lost her arm in a shooting 12 years ago.
Dr. Chi is telling me that if I want to take my baby's faces and go like this, and if they're sick, I could see if their heads are warm or if they're cold. You know, I'm supposed to be able to feel wet and dry, hot and cold. You know, sensory that you can feel normal.
I was born without my lower left arm, so
Okay.
I don't know how it is to lose a limb. I never
So
had
you
it.
can't feel.
No, I can't.
It feels like from here down, like I'm stuck in pudding.
Really?
And I can still move,
That's amazing.
but it's not as natural and normal and quick
I see.
as over here. Sometimes when I get itches, like I do get itches, and then I have to touch my back. And if I can't get it, because like certain spots I touch my back, I can feel all the way to my fingertips.
Oh,
and
really?
it's clear as I'm out of the pudding. And I think that's what this surgery is going to do. It's gonna take the pudding away, if that makes sense.
You will try out the MPL, right? The modular prosthetic
I hope
limb
so.
after you had your surgery. What are you hoping to get out of it?
My dad walked into my kitchen one day and he gave me a little dog ear of a magazine. And it had modular prosthetic limb. And it
Right.
said, we're looking for 5 candidates.
Okay.
And I stood there in my living room and I cried
Okay.
because I thought, if what's still here could make something down here work,
Right.
I could have two hands again.
Exactly. I would consider doing what Dana's doing, definitely. In a way, I already consider myself a little bit bionic. But we will soon, probably within my lifetime, get to a point where prosthesis will perform just as well as a healthy human limb. I can see myself as having zero limitations, physical limitations, at some point in the future. And that is something that I did not expect.
In London, they want to give the Bionic Man the ability to pick something up.
Is it locked? Which one?
For a robot to be able to be useful in the world, it has to have those same levels of manipulation and dexterity that a human has.
But developing software to control arms like Bertolt's isn't easy.
The prosthetics are designed to take signals from the body, electrical signals that can be detected somewhere, whether it's in a nerve or a muscle, and turn those into commands. So what we have to do is to work out a way to fake those electrical signals that the prosthetic is expecting to see to get it to do things.
What on earth?
In Boston, Bertolt's going to meet the inventor of some of the world's most lifelike bionic limbs.
I'm on my way to meet Hugh Hare, who designs bionic ankles that, from what I've heard, replicate actual biology. Apparently, it's a very special device.
Hey, hi.
Hi, hello.
The brains behind some of the biggest innovations in legs, MIT's Director of Biomechatronics, Hugh Hare.
Oh, wow. So this is where we do the human testing on the ankle. We define bionic as using electromechanics to at least emulate biological function, and perhaps one day to go beyond biological function.
Hugh's invented a new generation of bionic ankles with the help of military funding.
Jen here has a pad that's communicating wirelessly, of course, to the bionic ankle. She's tuning various parameters. The timing of the ankle thrust is very, very important to walking efficiency.
I mean, just by looking at it from here, I mean, if he was wearing long trousers, you wouldn't realize that he's wearing an artificial leg, would you?
Right. Just like you don't realize I'm wearing two right now.
Wow.
Let me show you.
Oh, wow, this is amazing.
So fully articulating ankle. So it adapts. I can walk slowly. I can suddenly accelerate out. Stop immediately. The ankle has no idea what I'm doing.
Then how does it know when it's supposed to give power and when
It's
not?
just responding to my body. The ankle has no idea that I'm going up steps or going down, but it responds appropriately.
That is absolutely amazing. And also, I think they look actually quite nice.
To match nature's design, Hugh's ankles have a motor and spring system that mimics the calf muscle and the Achilles tendon.
So here you see the transmission and the motor system that represent the calf musculature. This pulls up through this spring, this Achilles tendon spring. And then that spring exerts a force on the foot, and we can control position and stiffness, power. So the greater the torque and force on the unit that the human applies to it, pushing against the world, the ground, the greater the output of the motor. The value of that is it's completely natural, and there's no delay. There's very little delay.
So is it a bit of a stretch to say that that you've actually put a tiny bit of brain function, a tiny, tiny bit of brain function from the brain
Absolutely.
and put it into the foot?
Yeah, correct. We've worked on ankles for about 8 years, but we're only getting started. This is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of functionality.
So you're not just thinking ankles?
No, I'm thinking all body parts, actually. I'm quite ambitious.
Hugh was a teenage climbing prodigy. When aged 17, he got trapped in a blizzard and lost his legs to frostbite. But he soon began customizing his prosthetics so that he could climb again.
How many different pairs of feet do you have?
I have these bionic limbs, probably 3 pairs for climbing.
Oh, wow.
1 for ice climbing, 2 for rock climbing.
Oh, wow.
I have legs, you have shoes. My goal when I was a young man was to be the best climber in the world. And I was climbing better with artificial limbs than I had achieved before my accident with biological limbs. And to me, that was absolutely inspiring, because I realized that technology has this extraordinary capacity to heal, to rehabilitate, and even to extend human capability beyond
in your case,
what
yes.
nature intended. If a fairy came and tapped on my shoulder and granted me a wish, would I wish my legs back? And absolutely not.
You wouldn't?
No. I think having normal bodies is boring.
You look very comfortable up there.
To me, it's almost like vertical dancing. Vertical dance. Unfortunately, it ends.
Yeah. He said normal bodies are boring. I found that, of course, great, because prostheses are not just an ugly tool that help to compensate for loss. It's something cool if you make it that, and that's how I feel the same about it.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the capability to make the world's first Bionic Man.
The slogan of the $6 Million Man program was, "We can rebuild you better, faster, stronger." That is an ancient aspiration. Our ancient spiritual traditions promised healing and magical powers and the ability of flight and the ability to run fast and long. The real point in question will come in our society when someone says, well, it's not just the people who've already lost those limbs. It's like, I want faster legs, so I'm going to cut the legs that I have off and get these faster legs. That's the real point at which society will have to figure out what they're going to do about these things.
Military-funded research is going beyond mere improvements to bionic limbs. Engineering company Boston Dynamics is producing some of the most lifelike robots in history.
Well, I think when it comes to our bodies, yeah, I think that the danger is that we might change what it means to be human and create a new species that may turn around to bite us. Similar to that Frankenstein myth where your creature let loose in the world becomes destructive and uncontrollable. That's when you go too far.
For Bertolt's Bionic Man to be more than just a set of body parts, he needs to be aware of the world around him.
When I first started coming here, I did have a little bit of central vision left. I could see bright lights and bright colours, but since then, as my sight's deteriorated, I can't even tell if the lights are on or off now.
Church warden Caroline Skinner is about to get a bionic eye implant.
Right, so the new window is on the right here. Now, maybe when the retinal implant works, I might get an awareness of the brightness that's coming through that window. Just an awareness of the brightness of that would be rather wonderful.
It is, in a way, the stuff of science fiction. We are hoping that patients who are completely blind will be able to see basic shapes and objects, to be able to navigate around, and of course, for them, to be able to see just something is a tremendous advance.
Caroline's having a microchip implanted in her retina, the delicate layer at the back of the eye, covered with 120 million light sensors.
We're putting at the back of the eye the electronic equivalent of the film of cells that these patients have lost.
The 3mm square chip has 1,500 pixels that turn light into electrical impulses to send to the brain.
It's a bit like if you're a postman, you're trying to deliver a letter, and rather than just pushing it through the letterbox, you somehow want to push it on their kitchen table, and you have to sort of use a device to feed the letter all the way through the letterbox, maybe along the corridor, round a couple of turns, and put it on the table.
Before Caroline's microchip is switched on, her eye needs time to heal.
Wow, who's this?
This is our version 1 artificial Bertolt, as promised.
A month in, Bertolt's bionic doppelganger has arms and hands for grasping, but no eyes to guide them.
Down a bit, down a bit.
So they've wired up a retinal implant similar to Caroline's.
Oh yeah, there.
Okay, there's something. That might be the hand, that might be the can.
Yeah, there.
You've got a corner with something on it. I can see the can. If you look on the screen, you can see the kind of image that we're getting from the retinal implant.
Wow, that's it?
Well, you can see there's something there. The retinal implants are very much designed around the idea that you have a human who has no data, give them some data. For a robotic system, it's actually easier to start with a lot of data and cut it down, because effectively a robot isn't very good at guessing. A human is very good at guessing.
For full 3D vision, an ingenious solution: the infrared camera from a games console.
This screen down here has the actual view that's coming out of the 3D camera.
And you can see its arms, cool.
This is it mapped into a three-dimensional world.
Oh, wow.
You can see the green shadow.
Yes.
That's the object that it thinks it's seeing.
How does it know that that's the can and not the table?
It recognizes a collection of points that are of about the right shape.
So it has kind of learned what a can looks like?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Can I have a glass of cola, please?
Once the computer's decoded the image, it sends signals to a circuit board in the custom-built shoulder, which is controlled by artificial muscles that contract when filled with compressed air.
Okay. Yes.
The signals are then passed down the prosthetic elbow and into the hand.
Yeah? Thank you. You're going to have a sip as well? Yeah? Okay. Cheers. No, okay. The Retina implant is great, but it's only great in combination with the human brain that can make sense of it.
"5 weeks after the operation, time to flick the switch on Caroline's microchip eye.
Okay. Okay. Now, can you tell me...
Flashing.
Is there any difference? What, if anything, can you find on the table?
I'm certainly picking up 3 definite.
Mm-hmm.
No, I thought there was another one. 4.
Good.
Yeah.
When we see things, we all see things as flashing. It's just that our brain learns to interpret the flashing as an image.
Circle. Very good.
So in many ways, what Caroline is going through is she's seeing the flashing in a very similar way that she might have done very early in life when she first started to see as a new baby. And that flashing is then converted into an image.
I'm getting odd straight bits. I'm wondering if that's the triangle.
Okay, do you want to feel it? Well
Metaphor.
done. Excellent.
And then I get this beautiful flashing there, which is
okay.
What they're doing for me now and what I'm helping them to develop could come to something quite amazing by the next generation or the next generation along. So it could help them. So I can enjoy the fun and they can hopefully get the benefit.
After 2 months, Bertolt's bionic doppelganger has an outer frame, but to bring him to life will take a bloodier kind of science.
Here you go.
Building an organ is quite something different than building a hand. A hand is basically a question of mechanics and engineering and maybe a bit of software, whereas building an organ, that involves biology, chemistry, medicine. That's quite a different scale of complexity.
Professor Alex Sefalian will create the Bionic Man's circulatory system. He has a lab full of the world's most advanced artificial organs.
So this is the heart, artificial heart.
The human circulatory system carries blood around the body. The heart pumps blood to the lungs, where oxygen from the air that we breathe is transported into the bloodstream.
So I have connected my oxygen, and now is oxygen getting in?
To mimic the lungs, this prosthetic is a filter packed with tiny hollow fibers to oxygenate the blood.
Blood goes in, oxygen goes in, and oxygenate the blood.
The kidneys remove toxins from our blood and help to regulate its contents. This is a prototype of the world's first implantable artificial kidney. It contains super-efficient silicon membranes for filtering out toxins and a chamber of living kidney cells to help maintain appropriate levels of water and other essential components in the blood. The pancreas helps regulate blood sugar, the energy source that keeps our body running. This implantable pancreas reacts to rising blood sugar levels, releasing insulin to keep them in check.
So you can see even now, the insulin coming out. So yes, it does work.
The spleen is a filter that removes impurities from our blood. This synthetic one works with magnetic particles that latch onto germs and are then pulled from the blood with magnets.
Interesting device, So this is all clean blood.
Most of these are still prototypes. The hope is that one day they'll solve the worldwide shortage of donor organs. But one device is already saving lives. Carolyn Stewart couldn't live without her bag. It carries the power supply for the mechanical heart beating inside her.
I feel totally different. When I came out of surgery, it was like, wow, I just moved around just like that. And it took me no time to recover. I love the new technology because a person like with bad heart gives us a chance, a second chance at life.
Until a suitable donor is found, Carolyn has to keep her batteries charged to stay alive.
And how do you know we're all plugged in? Because the green light is showing. Okay, you're all set. It's not going to be my primary solution for right now. This is the option that they gave me. To a donor available for me.
Okay, I need you to take another breath for me. Can you take a breath in and hold it, please?
David Henderson's heart is failing.
Simple things I can't do anymore. And this is like the only thing left beside a transplant. And I probably don't make it until the transplant comes available. Okay, here we go.
Today, David's going to have his heart cut out by Dr. Daniel Tang.
It's an open heart operation like any other, but in this operation we're going to take out the majority of his heart and replace it with a plastic, pneumatically driven pump.
The artificial heart is made of 2 chambers that replace the heart's 2 ventricles, the workhorses that pump 8,000 litres of blood a day.
it's a big operation. Bleeding is a significant potential complication. He could certainly have a significant stroke. His kidneys could finally fail. He could then go into renal failure, but the risks are significant. Great. Start draining all this blood off. Okay. 11 blade. All right. Can you go up, empty out a little bit more? All right. Scissors. Big heart, very small cavity, dilated RV associated with it. We are most definitely fully committed now. Leave a little volume on. Okay, a little bit of volume in again. 4 RB. You ready? So rate of 40. Good. 200.
We are a great death-denying species. Even though the death rate is 100%, it's very hard to find a human that accepts that.
You can empty out your vent.
I mean, in the last 150 years, life expectancy has increased 7 hours a day, every day. It's remarkable. It continues to do that. Is that good? It's horrific to say no to that question. But the answer is no, it's not good. There's a limit.
David's new heart cost $120,000.
Certainly, at anything like today's costs, there is no society on Earth, including the United States, that could afford to implant 100,000 artificial hearts a year. And people just couldn't afford it. Is it acceptable that just the rich people get artificial hearts and therefore they live longer? I don't think so. But is it also acceptable, therefore, to stop development of an artificial heart until we can figure out how to make an equal society where everybody gets one? I don't think that's possible either. So it's a problem that we haven't solved yet.
This is expensive therapy, and it uses a lot of resources. That being said, for the single individual who then, is able to return to their life, return to their families, it's invaluable. I mean, for me personally, I find it very difficult when the economists sit down and they talk about what is the value of a life.
To think that such technology has been developed that can sustain somebody's life is just amazing. There's no other word to describe it but amazing. And he's very fortunate to be able to be one of those people that is going to get a second chance in life. And we're excited for that.
When Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, scientists were experimenting with electricity from lightning to bring dead bodies back to life.
So we got all the organ in now, and so that's it. We're ready to put the blood in and circulate it.
But in the bionic 21st century, you just need to turn the power on.
has a heart, and the heartbeat looks like the heartbeat of a real human, so it's a bit weird. Yeah.
Seeing the body with the heart beating and blood going around it is quite unnerving. There's a pulse, it's alive, it's moving, and we can see that this really is coming together as something that's taking life.
This puts having a prosthesis into perspective, because I mean, this is not so much about cool or cyber or whatsoever. This is life-sustaining. You know, this is a question of life or death.
The Bionic Man's almost ready to experience life beyond the lab.
So this is Rex.
Wow. It's huge. Can I just for a second stand in it? Just
You sure
to
can.
see what it feels like.
To walk out into the world, the Bionic Man needs the balance of an exoskeleton designed to help paraplegics walk again.
Yeah, it feels very sturdy.
It's very stable, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm excited about this, to see how it goes onto our artificial body here. So. Well then, if you're ready, should we try to stand?
Should we stand up?
Stand it up, him up. Okay, here we go. Wow.
Magic.
It stands.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's impressive. It's huge. It is quite a bit taller than I am. Can I just reiterate that? Didn't we say something about making it to my measurement?
Well, see, you've got a long body, and then Rex has got long legs, and when you add long bits and long bits, you end up with a tall person.
Okay, should we try making it take a few steps? Yeah, let's try that. Jesus. Yeah. That was like, that leaned over very, very far.
Yeah.
Like,
See, normally with a typical user in there, they would actually, the upper body would move as the machine leans, so they'd counteract the lean, whereas this torso doesn't have the ability to tilt its pelvis.
Okay.
When humans learn to walk, they start off very small, so falling over isn't much of an issue. And as they get taller and taller, they get better and better at holding themselves up. For robots to learn to walk in the same way is almost never possible, simply because robots tend to be a lot more, actually more fragile than even small humans are. Because of the way humans walk, which is to be falling and catching, it was actually an incredibly long time before anyone in robotics thought, let's not do that. Let's walk by staying still and just moving in such a way that we get to move forwards. And seeing that in something of this scale and this strength is really, really impressive.
Seeing the body walk for the first time, I think that was this kind of moment of coming to life. I was quite surprised that it worked this well without falling over. That was the moment where it, for me, really became the body for the first time. What's your name?
Call me Eugene. Eugene Guzman.
To give Bertolt's bionic alter ego a voice, they've hooked up the speech software used by Stephen Hawking to an award-winning internet chatbot.
What kind of music do you like?
Actually, I like Eminem. Eminem is a famous crapper. No, raper. Ripper. Yeah, I mean rapper.
But no matter how clever the software, there's one body part that computers cannot yet match. The human brain is made up of 100 billion neurons and is the most complex structure in the known universe.
Now, this rat in this tub has a cable coming out of his head.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, we're trying to read what the rat is thinking.
By reading these rats' minds, this lab is trying to build microchips to restore memory and one day cure Alzheimer's.
So the idea is, if a brain's damaged...
Yeah, or some stroke or something.
Oh, stroke? Okay.
Yeah.
To replace a certain area of the brain with a chip, is that correct?
Yeah.
Here is the surgery room. We prepare brain slices in this room.
Brain slices?
Yeah.
Professor Dong Song has spent 13 years studying the electrical signals in rats' brains.
Can everything that is in our head be reduced to electrical impulses? Is love, hate, fear, is that all just electricity?
Personally, I believe so. The brain has billions of neurons. They talk with each other in the language of electrical pulses, like blip, 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 this kind of code.
And you are learning that language?
Yeah, we are learning that language.
What about augmenting or extending functions of the healthy brain?
Oh, that's also possible. We have shown that we can actually enhance the memory function.
So you have a chip here that, if implanted into the healthy brain, increases the ability of the healthy brain by giving it a better memory.
Right.
Should we do that?
That I don't know.
Today I've seen a hybrid between a chip and a living brain. Absolutely futuristic. But do we have to think about the ethical implications? Yes, I think we have to. Honestly, I don't think that you can view the essence of what makes us human solely from an engineering perspective.
We have not really begun to explore very well what it means to enhance brain activity. Boy, talk about a difficult problem, because you got to face immediately the question, what's an enhancement? You know, what makes your brain better, and what just makes it different, and ultimately what makes it weird? You know, are you going to make a brain that's a superior brain or a brain that's categorically mentally ill?
I would love to have a better memory for details, or, you know, an inbuilt calendar. How great would that be? I also see a danger, of course, in that, because if suddenly people who have enhancements are, for instance, commercially more successful, wouldn't that kind of lead to a societal pressure to actually enhance myself in order to succeed? Or how about people who are not rich, who don't have the money? Would they basically fall behind because in order to succeed in this world, you have to have certain enhancements? So I think it's great to have the option, but I think as a society, as a human society, we have to be very careful where we want to go with that.
Electrodes that pick up electrical signals on the surface of the skin, so you can open and close it, or you can also rotate it.
In the brave new bionic world, if you want to reconfigure your inner workings, there's an app for that.
There is a Bluetooth chip built into the hand. So I use an app that connects wirelessly to the hand. Well, now it's early in the morning, so I'm still relaxed and my muscle signals are strong. Actually, the closing signal, which is the blue one, is actually a bit too strong. It gets cut off. So I have to adjust the sensitivity of the electrode by reducing the gain here a little bit. And then the changes are stored. I might have to turn it up again at some point when I get tired. This is how it works. Then it goes, it actually goes all the way around. Please take the picture. People ask me about the hand quite frequently, but I don't really mind. Wearing it the way I wear it, I think kind of sends out the signal that I'm okay with it. You can see the technology through the semi-transparent glove, and I quite like that. I kind of like this roboty look of it. I think it looks cool.
Amidst optimism about the life-changing benefits of bionics, there are some more cautious voices. At the Singularity University in Silicon Valley, Mark Goodman is a cybercrime expert who advises Interpol and the UN.
I've seen some remarkable bionic devices that interface with the human body. But what are potential risks associated with such devices?
So even with the implants we have today, not talking about the future, but just with the implants we have today, whether it be diabetic pumps, pacemakers, cardiac defibrillators, all of those devices are hackable. So we can envision new forms of crime, new security threats, where unauthorized third parties are actually not just hacking your computer, not just hacking your mobile phone.
They can hack into my body.
You
know what? My hand prosthesis actually has a Bluetooth chip built in that's used to, collect data from the hand, calibrate it, and so forth.
Right.
And when I connect to it, I don't even have to enter a passcode.
Right. So Bluetooth technologies, of course, is one of the most insecure technologies. There was something called a Bluetooth cannon, which was created recently that would attack diabetic pumps. So from at a distance of 100 meters, you could go ahead and shoot the Bluetooth cannon at a person who had a Bluetooth-enabled diabetic pump, and you could release 45 days worth of insulin.
It would kill someone.
In just 1 hour, which of course would send the person into diabetic coma and kill them. Now, for the first time ever in the history of humanity, we have the human body subject to cyber attack.
In recent years, defense contractors have also been developing bionic exoskeletons designed to enhance human strength.
This is a form of augmented technology, and I have no doubt that eventually this technology will migrate not just from the military, but into civilian law enforcement. So I'm sure that police officers themselves will be among the first to have these powerful exoskeletons, and if they don't, criminals will get a hold of them too. So you may see this arms race where these technologies are used in the sphere of public safety or in the field of crime, criminality, and perhaps even terrorism.
The things that I've seen have left me with kind of a weird mix of feelings. There's optimism that I might live to get an arm that's far more advanced than this one. But then you get developments that augment the healthy human body, which I still find a little bit scary. We might be at a point in science and technology where we see first glimpses of the possibilities to go beyond the limits of evolution. I think that really is a double-edged sword.
Back in London, the Bionic Man is almost finished. But Bertolt's got some concerns.
Guys, do you remember our conversation at the very beginning of the build, where I said, we need to make sure that it looks really nice?
Yeah. You're saying there's something inelegant about the heart, the lung? the kidney?
I am saying
something not quite you about the shoulders?
I'm so pleased with the overall aesthetics.
It's that combination of engineering and biology.
It looks very messy, don't you think? I mean, seriously. Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, I think it's not very pleasing.
That's quite a good photo there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It looks really weird.
Let's try round 2, shall we?
The final piece, a face in the image of its maker.
Rightio.
I am a bit anxious that this face mask will look just like the skin-colored prosthetic gloves for my hand. These things, by trying to look real and not quite making it, I personally feel that it's always super awkward.
Resemblance. It's unnerving, isn't it? That's, how do you feel, Bertolt?
I think it's just awkward. I think I really don't like it. Yeah, it has this Frankensteinish creepiness to it.
Is it because it is absolutely still? It's not quite right.
Yeah,
there's
I think
no breath,
it has
there's no motion.
Quite a bit to do with that.
I think it's quite impressive. It looks very realistic. You want to just touch it?
Yeah, I don't. I think I need a break. And will you stop laughing? I need a break. It feels revolting. How can I not feel personally connected to it? It has my hand and my face, the most distinguishing features of a human being. I thought this was going to be something great and beautiful, and it's not. It's this patchwork assembly of parts. You can see into the intestines. It's awkward. And on top of it, it has my face. I don't really know why I'm getting this kind of very strong emotional reaction to it, but it just looks horrifying to me. And then we have robotics people around it, and I feel like they're just not getting it. You see, I've spent my entire life so far with, trying to deal with the awkwardness of a prosthesis that I didn't find aesthetically pleasing. For a long time, my prosthesis was, it was neither human-like, nor was it really aesthetically pleasing. And now, my face is on top of something where not only does this apply to just a hand, but like to the entire appearance of the creature.
I've got to say, I do feel a little bit guilty right at the moment. Bertolt's reaction was a lot more than I expected.
Sorry, folks. Sorry for the outbreak. Sorry, Faisal, for snapping at you. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. I really don't know how to deal with this.
I don't think it's everybody who gets confronted with a problem like this. It's pretty much a unique problem.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, but it is something I'd rather not face. As a psychologist, it's interesting to see my own reaction to it because, of course, it's something that's very different. It has human-like qualities because of the shape of the body and the face. So we kind of attribute some human-like qualities to it, but at the same time, I couldn't perceive more differences. Perceptions of differences are something, and I know that from my own research, that usually put people off.
Yeah.
So I know for sure that the appearance of this thing will put people off. And that somehow reflects on me because that's my face on it. I mean, in the sense, I was thinking about it outside. There's a very, very strong Frankenstein reference here in the sense that Frankenstein, you know, he stitched together these parts, you know, expecting something great coming out of it. And then when he all got it together, he was horrified by his creation. And it haunted him for the rest of his life.
Willing to
So what's that? Come on, man. There's hair sticking out of its nose. I mean, guys, are you serious? Can I have a pair of scissors, please? Okay, pass me those scissors. Who makes these things? I mean, seriously.
I think after the initial shock, Bertolt seems to be kind of coming round. He's grooming the robot. He's if not accepting it, at least trying to work with it, to make it something that he can be with and not feel quite so disturbed by.
It's still awkward.
After 3 months, the bionic Bertolt is finished. He's a walking, talking, blood-pumping vision from our medical future.
The combination of the engineering and the organic and the biological has led to something that just has this very strong impact. But we brought together all these different things from totally different areas and got something that has actually got up and lurched into the world and effectively come to life.
What am I doing?
To truly embrace the artifice of man, any self-respecting humanoid needs the means to preserve its bionic dignity.
That might actually be a bit too light.
It's a good colour for him as well.
Yes. Oh, God, much better. What I was thinking, a little piece of cloth to kind of, you know, one of these...
Next guy.
Yes.
Go and grab one for you.
Let's try this one with the upper one. Yeah, something subtle. Something, yeah. So better, much better. Oh, thank you so much. What a relief. I was really tense about the appearance of the creature, but I'm quite relieved about the reactions that we got from the crowd. You know, all the teenagers were like getting out their mobile phones and taking pictures. And I thought that was a good sign because there seemed to be more interest and more curiosity than repulsion.
This Bionic Man's outer shell hides a complex interior. For every nerve, there's a cable. For every tendon, a spring. And for every muscle, a motor. It's the combined work of hundreds of specialists and decades of research. A 21st century $1 million man.
I think that we will look back on our current existence and think how terrible it was that we or our ancestors lived a short 80 years, forgot almost everything that happened to them, had to live with the constant fear of death and disease, had to let go of all the people around them as they slowly dropped away. Life will be much, much richer in the future.
What an amazing thing, you know, the arms, the legs, the organs. Wow, how innovative we are as humans, but it also shows what makes us human, all the things that are not in that creature. Guys, what do you think? A brain, feelings, emotion, intelligence, you know, we can't mimic them, but we can do great things with technology, which we can see really well, I think, in this artificial body that we built.
But perhaps the more difficult questions are still to come.
Oh, sorry.
Is it natural for humans to want to change nature? Or is there some standard for nature that we're tampering with? That's where the phrase playing God comes from. And that there's some boundary that we shouldn't cross. And what is that boundary? And I think that boundary is something about what makes us human.
Guys, this has been extraordinary. Thank you. What, you're not having a drink? No. Well, you're...
Sorry.
That's okay, that has happened to me before. Don't worry about it.